I know what that means.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
beautiful.
What is up?
That looks like 8 new indexes that have been added to Card Ladder. What's up, Peter Pac-Man? Stacking Slabs, Corey from Canada. That looks like 8 new indexes that are going to debut on Card Ladder for 8 different sports and categories. Am I right?
You are correct, sir. And we're also consolidating the 2 index pages we have, Player Index and CL50, into one page, and we're going to make this new sort of index dashboard page where you'll get a snapshot into CL50 with a link to the full index, and then also a snapshot into several new categories. They're just, different sports and categories, and this is going to expand. And then we still have the players indexes that you can sort by. And let's pick a cool one like basketball. So you get the full all-time sales history index of basketball cards. And if we look at 2 years, we kind of get this. Basketball's actually held up a lot better than the overall index, if you notice that. I think the CL50.
Very interesting.
Some of these have not ever come down. It's almost like the CL50 is like the worst index we have, or like the worst performance.
It's our most bearish index.
Yeah, wrestling's not doing so hot.
So what cards comprise these indexes?
Every card.
That's incredible. These
Look
are
at golf.
total market. These are total market indexes for sports. It does not get more representative.
Yeah, I was thinking about putting a limit to it of how many cards could be in there, but put all the cards in there for now until we get to a place where it's not possible. But for now, we can do it. Hockey. I mean, they all kind of do this similar-ish thing. Pokemon's kind of a little bit more interesting.
Wow.
They all do this though. They're all flat up until 2019, 2018, and then they do this. Interesting stuff. I mean, I hadn't seen any of these until I, ran the numbers on them, and then it's like, oh, here they are.
Wow, that's awesome.
Soccer has not come down.
That's soccer right there?
Yeah, soccer.
Wow.
All right, buddy, let's kick off the show.
Do you have any mail days?
I do not, do you?
I don't either. Wow, what a dull week for the mail day portion of the show.
I had a feeling that would happen, so I grabbed a card.
No. Is that your bring your card to work day?
Oh, wait, Christina. Fruit Punch is the first choice tonight.
Truly Fruit Punch. Christina, do you approve?
I approve.
So
Christina.
whoever had Fruit Punch, you win.
No, they had a bet going on what was the first flavor of Truly. They made me ask Josh to do a reveal.
I bet Fruit Punch had high odds, so.
Yeah, you know me.
Somebody just made a lot of money. All right, well, that's a very nice card. Was it Bring Your Card to Work Day, or was that for the Crossovers audience tonight?
Oh, I think I like to look at cards, so I just grab them. I just grab a card.
No doubt. Okay, Christina had 2 mail days, by the way. Here's the first one. This is a 2020 Prism Maxi Kleba Gold Wave, which from Tmall. And this is a Maxi Kleba 2020 Tiger Stripe from Prism. And I think
Tell Cuban.
I think Mark Cuban might be interested in those.
Stay away from Maxi Klebas. Because I'm not okay with that, Josh. And I'm not talking Johnson.
Okay, all right. So welcome everybody to the Crossover. Today is Friday, November 5th. We have less than 2 months left in this unbelievable year of 2021 in the hobby. And we'll get right into the questions today. Thank you guys for sending some excellent questions today for this week's show. And I must apologize in advance. I don't think we're going to be able to get to all of them. I think this is the most questions we've ever gotten. So I really appreciate it. I might just have to stop asking. I might have to put like a time limit. Like you have to submit your questions between noon and 4 p.m. or else I'm just not gonna be able to get to them all. But keep them coming. Really appreciate some really good ones. First topic up today involves what was once one of me and Christina's local card shops, which is Bullpen LA, and two people made comments on it. The first one was Jimmy Sniper Manis. He says, could you guys discuss theft at Bullpen LA and thoughts on how to avoid falling victim? And Hot Sauce Sports Cards says, could you guys talk about hobby shop safety? Saddened to hear about the recent assault and robbery at Bullpen LA. And so to help paint the picture, I've pulled up this post that Bullpen LA made. It says, last night when Harry, who's a store manager, was leaving the shop, he was held up, tased, put in a chokehold, zip-tied, and robbed by two men and possibly a third lookout. And they describe the two. We won't go through all the details of this post right now, but please do go read it, especially if you're in the Southern California area, because you might inadvertently, just being a member of the hobby community, you might know something or stumble into some of this product or run into the description of one of the two people. And Bullpen points out they have security, but what does it really matter if you're getting jumped in the middle of the night when you're closing up? If you come across any of the items, please contact Bullpen and the police. So that's the post from Bullpen. And the topic, I think there's two topics. The one topic is talking about safety. The other topic is talking about how we as a community are very different. This is different than if somebody were to go rob a different type of store. First of all, the value involved is huge. But second of all, this is a community. The hobby is truly a community. When you rob from someone, that post has over 2,000 likes, hundreds and hundreds of comments. I think we're going to find these guys. I don't think they're going to be able to move that product very easily. I think the description's out there. I think that we're going to find these guys. And I want everybody who can help in meaningful ways, not giving advice, but people who can help by, getting information if you have any. That would really speak volumes about this community. So what do you think about this situation, Josh, and safety and, thefts happening at hobby shops?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, man. That's I'm not sure that they could have done much more other than, having several people close the store together. I'm not sure what else you can do, right? Like, it has nothing to do with their security or, them like locking the store properly or their alarm system or anything. It was just, criminals will find a way, basically. It's some way or another, and it sucks. We just, to your point, like, we got to look out for each other, right? It's kind of a team effort. We can't just like have one person be stuck on this. So it's nice to see everyone rally together and try to help. And I think you're right, dude. It's just like, how is that person going to sell that stuff? That's like really high-end wax that's not just going to go on eBay easily. Like, they're going to have to sell it. They're going to have to like disperse it across the country and sell it at shows. Like, I don't know, how else would you do it? But hope they get caught, man. Justice is something this community really enjoys, so we will hopefully get that.
Yep, and I see some LA guys in the chat speaking about the tightness of that community, and it's one of the best sports card communities out there. So I just look forward to the post coming in the next few days or the next week or so that says, hey, look, these guys were found. So hope that post comes soon. Sports Cards Vault makes a fair point. They could just open all the wax and sell the contents. But if that's the case, I hope all those boxes are duds and they pull absolutely nothing. I guess, some of the things maybe for practically speaking for other people, this is not advice. This is just insights. Obviously card stores have insurance policies. They have security. These are expenses too. Like when you go to a brick and mortar and the box is marked up 10 or 20% over eBay, these are some of the reasons why. The store has to pay for insurance and the store has to pay for security now. It's just more of a reason than ever to support your local card shop and to try and help the local card shop protect itself and keep an eye out, and the community and the card shops work together as well. Do you have anything else on this topic?
I was just going to bring up insurance. It's another friendly reminder that insurance is important in this hobby, especially that the values of stuff has risen so much. So make sure you double check your insurance policies and travel in pairs. I'm not sure what else to say, man.
All right. Keep an eye out, guys, especially if you're in the Southern California area. Okay, next topic. Indisputably the topic of the day would be this.
What's that?
Trading cards are cool again. Josh Luber with the non-American formatting of the date for November. That's not the American one, is it? Okay, for November 2021. And he was kind enough to provide a PDF as well as the ability to read it in browser, which is very thoughtful. Some of the comments that came in, Card Collecting 82 says, we'd like to hear about the Josh Luber write-up. Juma Bailey says, let's discuss Josh Luber's master thesis, which is an appropriate description of it. He mentioned that he took a few months in the document itself, and it sure does play like a thesis of sorts. Ryan Bitter says, let's talk about what was perhaps the greatest treatise on sports cards ever written by Luber. Hazen Card says, we got to touch on the Josh Luber paper, but I also want to know, what do the people do that have had the time to read a 50-plus page paper in the 24 hours since it dropped prior to the airing of the crossover? In Cardboard Veritas says, what is one idea you disagree with? This is a fun question. What's one thing or idea you disagree with in the Luber piece, or one thing you think you might have missed? And then there's two more questions that are tangentially related, but let's talk about trading cards are cool again. The master thesis.
You missed my question.
What was your question?
K card ladder. Can we make this a thing? Let's put it up to a vote.
Okay. And Christina's question too. Okay, all right. So what do you want to say about, or how should we begin about trading cards are cool again?
How long did it take you to read it?
3 or 4 hours.
Oh my God, dude.
I invest.
That makes sense.
I go to footnotes, I click the links.
It took me an hour and a half, and you do everything about 2 to 3x slower than me. So that makes sense. Actually, that's not the right phrase. With more, you're 3 times more thorough than I am.
Maybe it's a mix of both. I'm slower, but I'm more deliberate.
There you go.
I mean, so I actually took notes all across this paper as well. So, I have a lot of thoughts on this paper, but I don't know. What do you want to say? I mean, it's too bad the Mint Collective isn't right around the corner, because this would have made a great roundtable panel. It would have made it with him, as he's going to be there himself.
Well, happenstance. Card Ladder is sitting down with Josh Luber at the conference portion of Mint Collective, and we will be talking, and the title of that panel is Data, the Hobby, and the Future.
There you go. Okay. All right. So let's go, buddy. What do we think?
Yeah. I'll give like my overview of it, like the kind of, if I had to give like a 1 or 2 sentence overview. He's really dissecting the past, right? And he's diving into the data of how we got to this point and how we went through some of the history of the hobby to get to where we are, and kind of trying to explain the recent surge in the hobby. And then also he's going a lot into, his sort of predictions on the future, given where we are and what we've learned. And he's also putting it from the perspective of someone in a position of power and influence with the Fanatics deal, and how he's going to approach that, how he's going to try to keep things growing at a reasonable organic rate, and to continue the growth of the hobby without disrupting it through the means of overproduction. And that's kind of my overall take. And he's using a lot of data, which is great. Obviously lots of card ladder graphs, which we really appreciate. I think that's awesome to see. And we take that data very seriously, and we know how accurate it is because of all the sales betting we do. So that's really great to see that it's founded in a lot of strong data. It's a lot, man. It is. I mean, it's also, my other take is that it's very entertaining. Like, it's a very well written piece. It kind of reminds me of I used to read all the Bill Simmons articles, and it's very like fun, right? Because Bill Simmons, a lot of sports articles you read are, they talk about the events and the sports and the stats, but Simmons kind of made it more entertainment based, and this is kind of that as well. So he's got some funny jokes. He also like carries different jokes throughout and like ends with a joke, and he keeps themes going of like different witty pieces to it. So I don't know, that's my take. It was a fun read. Took me about an hour and a half. I think it's worth it. And I made like 4 or 5 story posts last night. I had so much energy about it, and I was texting Josh telling him how much I appreciated the article, and it was my overall one word was thoughtful. Like, I thought it was a very thoughtful piece. He obviously put a lot of time into it. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, to take that topic and run with it a little bit, there's nothing forced about this piece. This is a smart, abstract thinker who put pen to paper or finger to keyboard, and over the period of months conducting research, having discussions, interaction with his teammates who he gives a shout out to in the beginning, and just thinking and having things change in his own collector experience, whether one of the appendices I think references building his Brady rainbow. Another one references sort of his back of the envelope calculation of the ROI of opening wax. All of this is very organic. This is clearly a person who likes to write, who likes to think, and who loves cards, and was able to bring those 3 particular passions together and produce a work that is instructive and says and gives a formal style to something that a lot of us think about or discuss in bits and pieces here and there. And to me, this is a great, terrific example of where branding and marketing happen naturally and work very well. I think we follow this same philosophy when we do card ladder content, or when we produce, or when we create our product, is that there's nothing about this that says that where Josh ever says, hey, you should trust me as the Fanatics chief visionary officer because of all these reasons. In fact, he notes that he was writing the majority of this before that even came into be. But still, this is the best endorsement / public job application to win the support of the community, to become the publicly anointed chief visionary officer of Fanatics Trading Cards. You couldn't make a better pitch than to just not make a pitch and instead produce a work like this that demonstrates all those qualities that I listed and that I rattled off. So I just think on a meta view, there's a lot to learn from this when it comes to content creation and why authenticity trumps all. And same for branding in our space. When you have like an NBA or an NFL or a sports team, when you have those things, they, for example, like the Phoenix Suns are going through a little bit of something right now where it's acknowledged that a sports team belongs to the community, and that whoever owns it at that time is just a steward of it, just a steward of that community. And same thing with trading cards, whether it's Fanatics or Panini or Topps or whoever, Upper Deck, who's a steward of a particular trade. They're just the steward. They hold the license for that period of time. And so now we have somebody who's stepping up to become a new steward and a new person to usher the hobby into a new era. And that's my big picture takeaway from this, is that he's utterly qualified to do it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not really. I agree. Is he gonna fucking come on or what?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he was gonna let us talk about it a little bit more first, or because look.
Well, let's talk about maybe what we didn't agree with. If there was something we didn't agree with.
Okay.
I'm like scrolling through and trying to remember some of it. It's, there's a lot. I liked his discussions around like the number of parallels and how that is kind of troubling him. So that's good that he's thinking about that. The 101s for select, what the fuck? There's 30. That's insane. The comparisons to the sneaker market are the only part where I'm not sure because the sneakers are just so different, right? They have, and he even pointed that out where he says like, he has that diagram where he says like sneakers are only cultural and a consumer good, and trading cards have more to it. I did like his comparisons on the cultural aspect of shoes, and I know I've said that to you numerous times. Like I think the next step for cards is it becoming more of a cultural mainstay and becoming more cool. And he talked about that a lot in this piece. And clearly he has a background in that with shoes kind of doing having a similar trajectory in terms of culture. And then like he's got the Logan Paul picture, which is perfectly placed because that's like a big step for like our generation. That's like, it's like, man, what a nerd. He's got this card. But no, like this is part of our generation where we are accepting of these different things like cards and making them cool. So that's a very like symbolic piece there. I was fascinated by the discussion around where shoe companies, if there was a demand set to 100 people, they would purposely create a supply of 91 and they would sell 91. And that's where like finding that perfect balance of striking that, because if you have a demand of 100 and you make 101, your sales actually are less than if you had just made less, which is interesting, right? And cards are kind of tipping over that potentially, like they're getting closer, inching closer and closer to that. Where does it end? Where do we stop selling out? And they haven't hit it yet. Obviously, they always sell out, but it's interesting to hear that he's thinking about those lines. The repack stuff, maybe that's the one I didn't agree with. How he was talking about like repacks and buybacks as like another way to kind of increase revenue and increase a way to get people more interested without increasing supply. It's like a little trick that you can do to not increase supply but still like keep the hobby going. It kind of feels more like a double dipping of revenue from the company side, and I'm not a big fan of repacks and buybacks. So I guess maybe that's like one of the things I agree with.
Yeah, no, that was one of the most interesting and perspective altering parts of that paper to me and I thought it was incredibly refreshing, whether it's because he has a fresh take or because he just really deconstructed what buybacks are. But in the context of the argument that says, how could we possibly continue to increase the supply of product that consumers can buy without increasing the supply of product, which is a very tricky, difficult problem. And he took something that's very much like a gambling sort of underbelly part of the hobby, which is repacks and stuff like that, which very much has like a gambling feel. And there's always worry that the value of the products in the repacks is nowhere near what they're being sold for. There's lots of concerns that get raised. But he says, but look, theoretically, in practice, how it actually plays out, because other people could do it differently. Strip that away and just say, look, buybacks and repacks, these are ways that we can continue to allow people to scratch the itch of wanting new product to open. But we can do it without increasing the supply of cards. We can keep the supply of cards finite. So we can sort of recycle the same cards, give people the same, help meet the increasing demand without populating the pool of cards with more literal cards. I thought it was quite clever, personally. And I don't know how it plays out in practice, but
right. Also, if there's a part 2 to this doc or PDF, trading cards are cool again. I would like to see more discussion around the athletes and the connection to like not the memorabilia, but like the autograph and the jersey patch side, and how that sort of part of the industry is either going to continue, or what sort of flaws it has, like, and with the sticker autos, with the redemptions, that sort of thing. So I think a lot of people are nervous about that area. So it would have been cool to have some discussion on that. But I mean, he went in so much depth on the topic he chose, so it may not have made sense to fit something like that in. He was on the way you described it was like it was a very natural, organic flow to the piece, and it just sort of like kept flowing very nicely, and maybe that would have disrupted it. So
let me point out one critique that I have.
Nobody should ever publicly claim ownership 16 copies of this card, 6 die cuts out of 50, and a printing plate. That's my one criticism of this paper. Just kidding. I don't know. I'm really struggling to find a criticism. Just kind of to recap part of it, because look, honestly, a lot of people aren't gonna have time to read this. That's just the bottom line to it. So here's a couple of points I think are worth underscoring. Number one, he's trying to explain what happened to the hobby in 2021, and he has 3 main bullet points. The first one he calls card shows killed the eBay star. We've talked about that on this podcast. We don't need to go into it into depth, but he lays out the case for it very convincingly. Number 2, he says new kids on the blockchain was part of the reason why the market retreated during Q2. Basically, he has a theory that, and he makes, there's a really neat graph that he put into the PDF. The CL50 value mapped against the price fluctuations of Bitcoin. And he says, it might just be as simple as the fact that Bitcoin sort of back in 2020 and then coming into 2021, Bitcoin has sort of had like a month. It was like a month ahead of cards, and that might, when it started, it would go up before cards would go up. And he said that it's just something as simple as that might have pushed people towards crypto and away from cards, like new people who are coming in looking for speculative investments, which was a really interesting point. But basically, the bottom line here is that he's not convinced that people were pulling out of cards and into Bitcoin or vice versa. He's more of the opinion that people were doing a little bit of both. And so they were moving in tandem, but he was sort of saying, look, maybe the fact that crypto was incredibly volatile was influencing the volatility through confidence. It was when crypto went down, it decreased people's confidence in other adjacent alternative categories like sports cards. And then the third point he made was, which I think is a very important one, was that PSA is closed. And PSA being closed shut down the grade and flip game. And that removed a lot of capital and a lot of important links in the hobby ecosystem. It removed it all. And so that's one of the reasons why 2021 has been difficult as well. And he goes into great length about, anecdotally speaking, about how when he would open product 2 or 3 years ago, he could send it to get graded quickly and get it back. All the product he opened this year, he is still sitting there on his desk right where it was months ago. Right. So those 3 points are worth highlighting, I think, for sure. Great timeline here of sort of big things that happened in the hobby over the course of the last few years. And, some great statistics here about, so one of the counterintuitive findings is that even though in Q2, the hobby prices as measured by the CL50 went down, aggregate spending on eBay went up. Q1 was 871 million. Q2 was 1.13 billion. So the pool got the pool of, I'm reaching for a metaphor here, but basically, even though prices went down, more money came in. So as Dr. Beckett would say, that supports the long tail thesis in the hobby. And feel free to jump in if you have.
Yeah, he also talked a lot about, we've talked about on the show too, where the prices got to a point where people's cost basis into those cards was so, the difference between what they paid and what it was worth was so great that some people were almost forced to sell that stuff. And so that's when you kept seeing these tipping points of, okay, we hit this certain threshold where people that bought this stuff 6 years ago are, seem to make so much profit that they almost have to sell. And that's when the supply went up. And then, like the example of the Jordan Fleer, where Ken pointed out that 40 copies came into his door, immediately after the 720K sale. So people wanted to take those profits. This is a point, okay, now I've got to take profit. And then you see the supply go up and you see the prices sort of come back down. And he pointed out, though, that that was bound to happen no matter what. And the fact that it was still able to kind of recover and we're seeing this little uptick right now in time is a good sign. That's the sign he was looking for, where it didn't completely come cratering down because everyone took profit. No, certain segment of people took profit, new people replaced them. We get this new sort of influx of money to counteract it. And so it's all pretty interesting stuff.
I totally agree. All right, then we get to part 3. which is his breakdown of his novel theoretical construct of understanding our industry is consisting of people. Well, let me put them in the right order: prices, people, and companies. And he's explained that on our podcast before, and on Sports Cards Live. So we won't go too much into depth with it. I do want to be able to show this graphic of, and this sums up nicely. So he's saying prices are in the 5th or the 6th inning, people are in the 4th or the 5th inning, and companies are in the 3rd and 4th. And this is a running theme that he previews or foreshadows earlier in the paper, but then he drives it home in the final section of the paper where he relates sneakers to sports cards, which I think is the most important part of this paper. But okay, so when what he's saying here is that there's a certain series of dominoes that have to fall in a specific order, but when they do, it creates a virtuous cycle. So he says prices going up brings in people coming in pour in more money to this space, and when you reach a tipping point, which I think he said in the sneaker industry was like a market cap of around 1.2 or 1 billion, when you reach a tipping point, then companies come in and start building out infrastructure, and entrepreneurship sets in. And that's why it sort of logically makes sense why these three things cascade in a specific order: prices, people, then companies. So very insightful there. And, it speaks to something that we've talked about a little bit before, and that, is a mixed bag, which is, do we really want the prices, the record high prices? Do we really want that to be the reason why people come into the hobby? Right.
Right. Yeah, and the people and the companies are things that you and I can more directly control, especially the companies, because we all have an impact on points that out, like this is going to be the next, big step we take is in the companies and the sort of the industrialization of it, like having more foundational pieces in place, having more, industrial money come in and investment money, and having different entities kind of jump in and put their faith in it, because the more faith we have in it, the more, the more it's gonna continue. And also he's talking about how, and we've talked about this a lot too, where when someone buys something at a certain price, they're just not going to want to sell less than that. And these people that come in and invest in this company, they're not going to want to just bail on those investments. They're going to want to see it through. So there's going to be a really long runway, even if we totally screw this up. There's a long runway for different successes to take place, and runway of us to kind of figure this out and have some dips and continue on. And so I know you and I are, and that was one of my story posts was, my takeaway was this article feels like there's a lot of action items. I don't like leaving any meeting or any substantive body of conversation without some sort of action item. And the action item for us is to do the best we can to kind of be stewards of the hobby and create accurate data for everybody, making sure we're painting the right picture of the hobby, and that we're speaking well of the hobby, and that we're deflecting any people trying to get people out of the hobby into, pictures of apes and shit. And so there's a lot of different things we can do as people in the hobby, but also you and I as businesses in the hobby.
Absolutely. There's a section here that's a nuanced discussion, and Luber reverse engineers this next section. I would describe it as a reverse engineering of the construction of product in the sports card industry. And he sort of goes through the different pitfalls that historically have happened and that theoretically could happen when it comes to overproduction. And that ties into your observation you were making a little bit earlier about how do you make enough product that the demand is either perfectly equal with it or slightly outpaces it. Because Luber makes the observation that if you have even a little bit more supply than demand, that's going to have an outsized, disproportionate effect on driving down demand. Because as soon as it is perceived or it seems that there's actually more to go around than people want. Even one extra pair of shoes, if there's more supply than demand, the impact is to drive demand way down. There's probably something profound psychologically to say about that, but we'll just observe it here and let people dig into it a little bit more. So he talks about how, look, it's one problem is taken to its logical extremes. You just print a bazillion copies of the same, base set, and then you've oversaturated supply in an obvious way that we've seen before. But he says there's other ways to mess up the supply too, which would be, what if you just made, like his hypothetical, which is taking the idea to its extreme, like what if you just made a product where every single card was a unique one of one? And he says, if you had that product, you also have the situation.
Select.
What's that?
You have select.
Yeah. And he's saying, like, look, if you have that situation, the problem in that extreme is that because everything is 100% unique, nothing is unique. The same thing that makes one thing unique is exactly the same thing that makes another thing unique, and nothing is unique. So the solution can't be, let's just make a boatload of one-of-ones. That can't be the solution either. And so he's pointing out that there are different sort of types of pitfalls that you can fall into here. And then, he proposes a few, like one of the solutions or interesting hypothetical solutions we already talked about, which was, this, the buybacks and the repack stuff. And that's a way to recycle product without having to make more. But I think he might be sort of holding some of his cards closer to the chest here, because obviously, he's in a position now where he doesn't want to give away what his product construction theories might be. And then that brings us to the final section of this paper, sneakers, cards, and the future, which all of this paper was excellent. But for me, this section was the most instructive, because I learned a lot of things that I had never thought about or I had never known before. And he refers to the virtuous flywheel of prices, people, and companies, which we had referred to before. And he shows how it played out in sneakers and how it's playing out right now in cards. And he makes comparisons to how cards remind him of sneakers in 2015. He says cards have not achieved anywhere near the level of cultural ubiquity and coolness as present-day sneakers. And then finally he has this he has this little infographic, which he referenced at the industry summits, where he says, look, trading cards are the unique class that is a consumer good, and it has a cultural component, and it's a financial asset, and it's gaming. Whereas sneakers, you only have two. You only have consumer good and culture. With NFTs, you only have two. You only have financial asset and culture. And with daily fantasy, you only have two. You only have culture and gaming. So he says, look, trading cards are a very unique intersection of these 4 points, and that's what makes him believe, even with respect to the StockX model. He says trading cards are all these 4 things, and he says trading cards are a more perfect product for StockX even than sneakers ever were. And so that's a pretty high note to end on. And so there we've sort of taken a walk through the paper from start to finish there for people who might not have a chance to read it but want a very high level Cliff's Notes of it. There you go. All right. And I didn't get a chance to follow up with the chat much, but I think there were a lot of smart things being said in the chat as well. All right. Mostly 90s basketball cards has a question for you, Josh. He says, if Chris wrote an essay about why trading cards are great, how many pages would it be?
Oh my God. Well, if I had started reading that at the same time that well, that's silly, but like if the Josh Luber paper took me an hour and a half, yours would take me 10 hours. So at your pace, it would take you 30 hours to read it, which means it would take you about 6 years to write it.
Yeah. Might not live long enough to write down everything we have to say here. Okay.
You're like the guy that's writing the Game of Thrones. We're like, we have to keep you alive to keep writing this fucking thing. No, it would be a good paper. It would be great. You should, right? We obviously don't have time right now, but it would be cool.
Rather, Josh Luber was in a great position where before entering and becoming a man in the arena, he was able to have a period of reflection and thinking. Once he is the man in the arena and he is chief visionary officer controlling all of those licenses, he's not going to have time probably to produce master works like this. But there's always time after and or before. I'm very glad he wrote this when he did and he published it. All right, and then Caden Card says, what's up with Josh Luber's job opportunity for a nap waker and a BFF? So Luber has posted this to his Instagram. He said he's hiring. You must be in Austin, vaccinated, and a card expert. And he's looking for an executive assistant, a chief of staff. This is all the same person, right? He wants you to be all these things: a personal assistant, a card grader, a ghostwriter, lunch partner, PowerPoint maker, shopping companion, and of course, nap, waker, upper, and BFF. I really admire a guy who is a champion of the nap. And then if you want to get in contact, that's how you get in contact. There you go. Will you be putting in an application, Josh?
Do you want me to have 2 jobs?
No. So I told Christine, I was like, Christine, you'd be great for that job, but you're more needed here. You're much, much more needed here. Okay.
I don't know if she's more needed here. She's like contractually obligated to be here.
That's right. She needs to be here more. I don't know. But you're not leaving.
Exactly right.
All right. Now, many questions. All right.
No, just kidding. No, we're not the Suns. We treat our women with great respect in this company. We let her spread her wings and work on whatever she wants.
100%. We have in this hobby.
That's so brave of you, Josh, to admit that.
In this hobby, we have a woman business owner and executive.
Yes.
But in fact, she's multiple executives.
She's the only one that has more than one executive title or what chief title.
So does that mean technically we have multiple?
We have multiple women executives.
We have multiple executive positions filled by women.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Or of women.
Leopard Man Card says, first off, I really enjoyed listening to the show. A lot of valuable material. If either of you were going to purchase another National Treasures RPA of any player that you do not already have, what would you choose and why? And then he put in parentheses, no money limit.
Well, I don't own a national. Oh wait, I own a football. I own a couple of football ones. This is such a cheap answer. I would pick Steph Curry so that I could sell it and buy more cards.
Always a pragmatic answer. All right, here's mine. This is an obnoxious selection.
Ty's gonna be mad at you.
I like why Ty will be? He's not on the Knicks anymore.
Not anymore.
This card sold like last week. This is the NT Logo Man 1 of 1 Frank Ntilikina BGS 8 Auto 9. What do you think this sold for, Josh?
Is he on the Mavs now?
He is on the Mavs now.
I should have known. Stupid question. That's his like true 101.
That's the big boy right there.
10K.
Wow. Okay, it sold for $3,800. $3,850.
Yeah, I like that strategy of buying the absolute best perfect card of, a random guy. And you can get it for the price of half of a silver PSA 10 Luka or
whatever. Totally. But I like what I've seen out of Ntilikina so far this year. He was a lottery pick several years ago, and the people in the Luka chat have been trying to dissuade me from buying one of his nicer cards. I did not buy that one, but yeah, I would go after that because I've watched him. I think he looks good. Reminds me of when I watched Jordan Poole a year or two ago, and I thought he showed potential just from how he moves on the court. And I think Ntilikina has that too. So I'll go for that.
Go big or go home.
There you go.
If you're gonna buy one card, you might as well fucking buy the big one.
Look, if the Ntilikina experiment flames out royally, this guy spent $4,000. That's serious money, but I think most people can come back from being put into that hole. So, fun question from Leopard Man Card.
If it flames out, is it really going to go down? Could his market go down anymore?
That's a good point too. What's the downside when a guy's NT RPA Logo Man 1 of 1 is less than $4,000?
Where does it have to go from there? It's like people are buying green PMGs of absolute scrubs like bums, way worse than that guy for like 2 or 3 grand. So I mean, in the future, you might have someone that wants to collect Logo Man RPA 101. So why wouldn't you?
No doubt.
I think it'll always be worth at least 3 grand.
Hey, I love it. Okay. So Lefko says he'll take a Christina RPA. Those are very limited. And Carbon, I did not get my exquisite card. I lost the auction, man. I lost the freak. I spoke too soon. All right. Thornton X13 says, is it too late to invest in the players who are off to a hot start, like Desmond Bain and Tyler Hero?
Too late? Like from the point of view of like, I only want to make money off of them or I want to collect them?
Well, the operative word is invest.
Oh, then yes. Yes. Like if you're going to invest in a guy who's off to a killer start like Hero, now is not the time to buy, in my opinion. I mean, you could probably ride the wave up a little bit further, right? If that's your goal, but I honestly don't follow that sort of, investment strategy. So I don't really know how it actually pans out with data. I'm just sort of guessing.
Well, he's got 2 factors working against him right now, Hero and Desmond Bain, which is number 1 is the beginning of the season when most cards are really high, just right off the bat. A lot of hype for NBA stuff. Prices are often high at the beginning of the season, and then they cool off. As we're seeing football cards like really cool off right now. Same thing probably will happen to basketball soon as well. But that's working against him. And the other thing that's working against him is that Hero is coming off the bench and he's flourishing in that role, to give an example. And I don't know how much better or how many more shocking performances he can really have. The bar has already been set pretty high. But with that said, he could become a starter. That could happen. And, I don't know. Guys have breakout seasons, and he looks like he might be having one.
But here's the state of the Tyler Hero total market index right now. Obviously, you can see like over this short period leading into the season when the season began, very steep incline there, but nowhere near where he was in the bubble. So that's his total market index. That includes 54
Tyler Hero cards. So, if you think a guy is a really good player and is going to get better and is going to ascend to some level of stardom, then over the long haul, that player is probably going to trend up. So I think I would turn the question back to the question asker and say, what is your assessment of these players? Do you think they're flashes in the pan? Do you think they're going to fizzle out? Or do you think there's something really special and unique about these guys?
I mean, you probably bought a lot of Luka stuff when he was on the rise at this sort of juncture. But I mean, that would have been in his rookie year, so it's a little different. But you probably would have bought a lot of Luka stuff in this similar circumstance where it's like it's starting to go up a little bit, but hasn't really like completely exploded. So yeah, if you think Hero's going to be the next, top 5 player in the NBA, then yeah, you should be buying as much as you can.
Yeah, but that's like trying to capture lightning in a bottle and getting very lucky. So
It's hard to be top 5 in the NBA when you're not top 5 on your own team.
That's right. When you're competing for the 6th Man of the Year award. All right. 90s B-ball card says, what is a type of hobby content that you would like to see but currently don't see?
Oh, I did see that question. I was thinking about it. I think more hobby history into the sets and the cards. I don't think I can think of a single one. So anything more than 0 would be great. And it's like, you know what? We need more top 5 videos. That's what we need. We need fucking more people with their mouths open and their thumbnails screaming at me. That's what we need.
Oh, yeah. All right. Mike Pinkerton 50 says, who is the future of this hobby? Kids coming up or investor types? And I put this to a poll. My Instagram story was 50-50. It was a 50-50 result.
Aren't kids like a representation of future in anything? Not just, I think it's kids is the answer. And mostly from the perspective of the goal is not to target one specific demographic or one type of person. And you wouldn't just target only kids. You wouldn't target only investor types, but kids coming in have this effect of keeping the hobby going now and into the future, and then they get their kids into it. So it's got a bunch of ripple effects to it. If you get kids more involved, and kids are more they bring more excitement to the hobby. Like, who gets excited about some investment douchebag doubling his money? Like, only that guy. But if kids get involved and they're excited about it, they're making content, they're having fun, everyone loves that. It gets everyone more energetic about the hobby.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And sort of on that topic, and and on the content topic, like, so we obviously want to congratulate our friend Adam Lefko on taking a position in the hobby as a content advisor, and obviously a very talented content creator. And he's a guy who came into the hobby with an investment mindset and has been a total asset to this community. So I think there's a great example for the other side of that one, which is that investor-oriented and thinking people are also very important to the future of this hobby as well. I think 50-50 probably is about right. There's case for both sides.
Ethics are important too.
Yes, yes, they are. Cardi
60-40. I would rather seen 60-40. Come on, 50-50, 60-40. Yeah, they can have some examples. It's great. 60-40.
No doubt. All right, Cardi C Sports Card says, would you rather have a rare card that is frequently bought and sold, or a rare card that enters collections and never comes up for sale because it's in diamond hands? In other words, how does the visibility or lack thereof of a card influence value and desirability?
Yeah, you need both, right? You can't have a card that's so unbelievably rare that it's never seen and nobody knows what the market is on it. It's just total confusion. There's no research into the fundamentals of the card because we literally don't see it. We don't even know what it is. And it's a balance, right? And that's why I've always loved, and this is where you and I just differ, I've always loved the added like 50 to 99, 25 range, because it gives me that balance of like, yeah, I know other people could potentially own this, but it's still really hard to own it. So the question is like, would I prefer a card that's rare that sells a lot, or the other? It's almost like the LeBron RPA, which has been selling a lot, but it's rare, versus, a 101 kind of like oddball, not an oddball, but maybe like a Flair Showcase 1-of-1 LeBron, where it's probably worth less than the RPA, but it never sells. I guess I'd probably have the one that sells a lot that's rare, I guess. That's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And there are definitely examples in the Michael Jordan Grail market where cards that are highly desirable but never come up for sale have weaker markets than ones that are more visible and take on more of an iconic dimension. And it definitely seems to be a byproduct of the fact that the card is just out of sight, not of mind. And the energy for it isn't so strong, even if and when it finally does come up for auction. It's just the passion to get that card and the respect that owning that card would bring you just isn't quite there.
I think, though, that the ultra rare card that never comes up, if it's a parallel of a popular card, that gives it a lot of extra juice. Like the Michael Jordan Gem Master, people would go absolutely insane for that card because it looks a lot like the PMG that you do see sell, right? But it's a parallel, and that's why like the black Luka, people would go ape shit for that card because it's a parallel to something they are comfortable with.
Yeah, and the thing that's a good point, and then an adjacent point to that would be, if this is a super rare card of a highly coveted player that doesn't come up, but other players in that set have theirs sell, that you can sort of analogize the value of yours to, then you sort of get the best of both worlds. It's like cheating. That's like a cheat code to answer that question. Chris Littman says, what are some tips for if you want to collect an ultra modern rookie but not feel like you overpaid 12 months from now?
Don't buy it. Don't do it.
I know. Especially after release, like right after a product releases, I could show you 500 graphs.
Answer this question. You're doing it with McCaffrey. It's an ultra modern player of someone who's gonna, like, there's people definitely that DM you who are like, oh, I bet you regret McCaffrey now because you got injured. Like, what's your take on that?
I don't want to fight the hypo of the question, because he's saying like, how do you buy and not feel like you overpaid? I've resigned myself to the fact that I might feel like I overpaid, and there may be points over this collection journey where I did overpay, like what it's worth now versus worth 6 months ago. I've resigned myself to that being a very strong possibility. And I guess like I don't think there's a ton of upside with McCaffrey, but like if this question is like looking for a super upside rookie, then you have to take the good with the bad. You know, one of the things that enables the high ceiling is the fact that there's a strong probability of a low floor. So you have to take it both. But like one thing I would say is that regardless of the player, what inevitably happens when a new product comes out is like the first few copies hit the market and it sells strong. And then in many instances, over the period of the next few months, more and more product gets open, more and more copies hit marketplaces, and it starts to come down. So that's one way you can sort of insulate yourself, is like just don't buy at least more common copies of the cards from that product right when the product comes out. Just wait a bit and let the market settle and let the supply and demand equilibrium set in.
And also just like the more modern the rookie is, the chances are the more cards you have to choose from of this player, and the supply on these guys, like LaMelo Ball, the supply on his cards is insane. There's so many options. There's like 30 101s just from Select, so there's a lot of choices. So sort of on that same point that you're making about, you know, wait until the product settles, also just like have patience on any of the cards and wait until you actually think one of them is like a decent deal relative to market, and don't just like buy the first one or get caught up in an auction and go past market value because you think you're never going to see this card again. Chances are there's going to be something that's going to come up again or something similar. There's a lot of choices for the rookies, so just have patience, which I have very little patience, so I should be telling myself this. I bought some big cards, and it's like, you know, I talked to someone 3 days later, like, oh, I could have sold you mine for, you know, 20% less. It's like, shit.
Yeah, you never want to feel that one. Okay, good question, Chris. All right, Genomic Sports Card says, would love to hear you guys discuss the many huge dollar private sales that never get publicized. For every 1 6 or 7 figure deal that's public, there are many more that happen behind the scenes. Do you feel that this helps the hobby grow because cards are privately moving into stronger hands? Or do you feel that this hurts the hobby because there's less price discovery for the public?
Man, that's a really hard question to answer. Like, I don't really have a crystal ball to be able to know the differences and what would happen. I tend to think that having the data is better for the hobby, having the data available so that people can understand where prices are moving, and then there's less likelihood of someone overpaying for something else and feeling burned and leaving. I just always feel like if I had to choose, I would just side with more data, more knowledge. Like nothing's ever gone worse by having more information, really, right? It's like, I would rather just know more, make the right decision. Everyone being more informed and more intelligent in the hobby is going to be better for the hobby long term. But, you know, the counter is like, these private deals kind of give us this little intrigue, right? It gives us this little cultural sort of intrigue to the hobby, this little mystery of like, what is going on in this hobby? I've been hearing rumors about these deals. It's kind of the similar parallel to if you meet the demand with supply, like people are less interested. If you tell me every single little factoid about and I know everything about everything, I'm less interested in like digging in and figuring it out for myself and like getting into the rumor, you know what I mean? Like there's less intrigue and mystery. So there you go.
That's good. Leave something to the imagination. I'm just going to use this question as an opportunity to promote Card Ladder for a second, because
Shield Card Ladder.
Because, like,
For example, in the Ladder Headlines email that went out yesterday and on the news feed, we broke the highest sale ever of a Kyler Murray National Treasures RPA. It sold for $45,000 in a private sale a few weeks ago. And that was a private sale that happened between two incredibly high-end collectors. And, you know, they trusted and reported it to us. And then we vetted it and verified it and we published it. And that's a very important sale. That's a good example of a sale that the hobby should have in its mind, is knowing what a Kyler RPA 9.5 is going for in this pop 20. So with Card Ladder, we've by far broken the most private sales, and we by far have the most knowable, discoverable, and transparent vetting policies and procedures that allows those sales, when we do publish them, to have credibility. So we obviously believe, as Josh alluded to, that there's a lot of value in transparency and making information available.
But there is never even a slight worry that we're ever going to have anything close to every private sale, because 9 times out of 10, nay, 99 times out of 100, in the context of a private sale, either the buyer feels like they got a great price and they don't want to disclose it because they don't want to make the market seem like it's lower than what they believe it is. Because after all, when somebody buys a card, they often believe they're buying it for a little bit less than what it's worth. You know, they believe that the card is worth more than the money that they're giving over for it. So in many, many instances, there's a party to the transaction who does not want it reported. And oftentimes it's the buyer. And if you're a seller and you're trying to go around the buyer's back and promote your sale, you're not going to be able to get many buyers. So there's lots of incentives that are keeping private sales private. There's never a worry that private sales are going to become public en masse or writ large. But to the extent that they can, we take great pride in being able to publish and vet those private sales. Cow Cards says, what do you think about leveraging into cards? For example, PWCC offers loans against assets in your vault. Is it a good move to leverage up to get more cards? With inflation all around us, might it even be wise to do so?
Yeah, it's fucking great. That's a great move. If you go read Josh Luber's paper, you're gonna leave that paper thinking, God, I need to buy some cards. This is great. I believe in the future of this. I believe in it more than I do the US dollar, to the point of that person who asked that question. I believe like inflation is a real thing, and having assets and cards that you believe can outperform that is important, right? And I've always thought that just having this as an option in the hobby is just so huge for us. Like having the trust and the it being a reputable enough industry where we're able to take loans out against these as assets, it's huge, right? You're able to take a loan out against your house. You're able to take a loan out against, I think you can do it with art in some instances, like high-end art. So like us getting into that realm is kind of raising the level one more bit, us taking that next step into being a more credible, long-term, viable asset class. I hate that term, but
that's obviously the right and the logical and the thought through answer. The emotional answer that I will supply here is that I fear ever being underwater on a card, because it can happen. I fear it. So that would mean look, a savvy investor would say that's part of investing, and you have to, if you have knowledge and you allocate your risk properly, you're going to put the odds strongly in your favor. But to me, I've been pretty fortunate in this hobby so far, and B, I don't have any need or anything compelling me to be like, wow, I just could be doing even better. So I would never want the risk of going underwater on a card personally.
Yeah, my actual advice is don't do that, and don't take loans on anything you don't have to. Like, I barely think people should have mortgages, which is like obviously by far the most common way to take money. And so I would definitely not recommend it. I don't recommend taking on car loans. I don't recommend student loans if you can avoid it. It's like being underwater on anything is a very stressful thing, and being free and clear on something and owning it outright is it's extremely valuable.
Right on. Also, Carvin said something really smart in referring to the question before that one. He said, if you're a collector and you're in collector circles in the hobby, you're going to know what stuff privately changes hands for, even if it never gets publicized. And I think that's a really smart point. All right. BCW Card Break says, I see you guys track all-time highs, but do you track all-time lows? And if so, why don't we get any graphs of the all-time lows?
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because they're all like 20 years ago, and we would get zero.
Yeah,
all-time lows stuff. It's like lows in the last 5 years or 2 years might be more valuable, right? Because like I showed, every graph we ever show on our app is like straight flat line up zero and then up.
Right. And there's here's the thing. If there's an appetite for content that spotlights, because there's something inherently negative about putting a spotlight on cards losing value, because many people own those cards, and it's a painful reminder. We already send people painful reminders when we email them and their collection value goes down. It's just a painful reminder to put in people's faces through social media posts that this card, that card is suffering. It's difficult content that is, you know, it's just got a negative spin to it. And that's okay. Negativity is okay. Everybody gets negative from time to time, and sometimes the negative is the truth, and you want to tell the truth. You want to reveal the truth when you can. So I would turn this back to the asker of the question. I would say this: you know, if you think that there is demand in the hobby for content that spotlights things like all-time lows or cars that are crashing, make it. And we have plenty of graphs in Card Ladder, and I'm sure you can find cards that are going down. And obviously, you can take screenshots of those graphs and put them to social media accounts. Give it a try. And if you can show that there's a demand for that content, and that content is useful and helpful to people, and it's promoting the good things that are in this industry, and it's having a positive impact rather than a negative one, if you can show that, then we would strongly consider changing position on that. And considering making content to that effect.
Is he trying to like point out like when to buy the dip? Is that what, like, because when I read this, that's what I think.
It could be.
Like, he's like, you should tell me when cards are going down so I know when to buy.
No, I mean, we have a sort where you could sort by weekly change, monthly change, quarterly change, and you can reverse the sort. You click the arrow and it turns them up, and you can look at the ones that have literally performed the absolute worst. So we have that content. It's just that the all-time low feels like kicking a man when he's down versus like, because it's no secret that you and I discuss things negatively, because I don't think enough content creators talk about the hobby in a negative fashion enough. Like, we need the balance. It's not that we're just like beating down and being negative all the time. It's that you need that balance. But the all-time low kind of feels like, you know, salt in the wound versus like something going down. You know, I'll gladly root for something to go down when I feel there's way too much exuberance for it and it needs to go down and it's healthier to go down. But I'm not going to sit here and say like, you know, Michael Porter Jr. card should be 0. It should be literally like worthless. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I think about like, you know, I'm one of those people who's like, man, there's a lot of negativity when I turn on the local news. The lead story is a home invasion, and then the next one is a car crash, and the next one is, you know, it's very negative. But then I might be contradicting the point I made earlier, because perhaps the thought is if you make a bunch of negative content, it actually sucks people in, and they want to see it, and they want to consume it. But to me, I just prefer to, especially in this hobby, where this hobby is a hobby, it's a part-time thing for the vast majority of people, and I think they just want to see uplifting things. But you know, by the same token, I'm sensitive to the fact that when we just post a boatload of all-time highs, that's the most majority of our content, that it might be misrepresenting the true nature of the hobby. I'm very sensitive to that too. So it's a good question. It's something to think about. And just
tell them to watch crossover. Tell them to watch, if they think our content is all-time highs, they should watch crossover. We definitely don't.
That's right. You can
sometimes I feel like even our conversation between you and I is like, if I had to pick, I would say it sways more towards the negative, because like we get, cynicism is kind of where I lean into, at least. It's a little bit more entertaining for me. It's a little bit more comical, funny, like it leads for better conversation a lot of times. But we both know kind of deep down, like, we actually, you know, want the good and all this stuff. We want the positive. It's just, we just get so much positivity, and a lot of it being you know, not necessary. So like this show kind of like is where we vent a little bit on some of that stuff.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. You can get your fix right every Friday night. Okay. Drake's PC has an hour 2 question. We are in hour 2 now. He says, he says, auctions sometimes end. We have other hour 2 questions as well, by the way, of the vintage variety for the show. He says, auctions sometimes end during inopportune times where you may be on a work dinner or a date, etc. Can you imagine Drake on a date and he's like, oh shit, this auction's ending soon. Okay, and so he says,
I absolutely can imagine that.
So he says, look, he says, okay.
Don't be mean to Drake.
No, I'm not. All right. And he says, okay, so you have to excuse yourself to visit the restroom so you can get that last minute snipe in without being rude. He goes, how many auctions have you won while sitting on the can? Any other unusual places that you've won an auction?
Yes, the answer is yes. This is a great secret for the guys out there. Just take those dumps a little bit longer than you maybe need to take a dump and get in those auctions. Get those snipes in. Use the extra time to add to your watch list, massage your search save queries, and really spend that time wisely.
Oh my god.
Totally. Sometimes you just gotta make sure you win the auction at all costs.
What? That's the most PC answer. What the fuck? Just win at all costs. Come on, man. Give him some tips.
I don't have
You're taking a dump. Like, where else can they go? Where do they...
Because no matter where we are, he doesn't think it's rude to pull out his phone. That's what he's saying.
I don't have
and
this
just
problem.
Ignore what's happening in front of him to bid on the auction.
That's
The other one that I do is because I have kids and they will they'll freaking find me and make sure I don't have any privacy. I'll just go in my room and lock the door and look at my phone for 20 minutes and then emerge. It's usually me trying to find a card or win an auction or take a phone call or whatever. So there you go. Go in your room, lock the door.
There you go. I wish I had a good story about something like this, but I just don't.
Well,
you could
do it without auctions. You could do when you were sitting in the office and won and made a deal for a Luka card.
No, yeah, I've told them.
What's it like to have privacy at all times, Chris? How's that? What's that like?
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
You think he has privacy?
You got more than I do.
It's pretty nice.
Hi, Josh. I'm Christina. I think we've met before.
Sometimes I'll message one of you, and then the other one will message me the exact same thing. And I'm like, aren't you just great? I don't know what the fuck. You both sent me the same thing. And you're like, well, I'm in the other room. He's in that room.
That happened today.
It did. I told Chris what.
We were in the same room. We just weren't talking.
I told Chris what to do.
We messaged.
You asked me something. I told you what to do, and then she asked me the same. I'm like, I just told him what to do. Why are you asking me?
Okay. All right.
You guys are your own people. I'm sorry. I shouldn't assume. You're right.
No, well, she's the one who was making the contrary argument. Okay. All right. We have two questions on the Bermuda Triangle. Drake's PC says, can we get an update on the October Hobby Bermuda Triangle? And Cars and Candy 911 says, what is the optimal thing to do during the Hobby Bermuda Triangle? So first of all, there was no October Bermuda Triangle, at least not on the Card Ladder 50. But I can tell you this, we haven't given it time to play out yet. The span of the Bermuda Triangle is October-November range. And let's just hold off before we decide whether or not it's happening and what it means. And I don't want to rush any judgments, but over the last few days, a lot of cards have been plummeting. And I've had people reach out to me and specifically say, I think we're in the Bermuda Triangle right now because and they'll send me graphs from Card Ladder. Look at this card, look at this card, look at this card. But it's not showing up in the CL50 right now, which is good. And the other thing to keep in mind too, some people took offense at the idea that this market doesn't go up 24/7. But look, if it does go up, great. But here's the situation that we have to be more long-term thinkers about. You don't ever want to be in the position, and this honestly was the position that Luber was in, writing his piece, and it produced a great piece, but he's looking backwards. He's saying, how can I possibly explain the Q2 drop-off in the hobby? How can I explain why Michael Jordan PSA 9 Fleers went from 90K to 30K? How can I explain that? And you don't ever want to you would much rather prefer to be in the position to where you're able to predict downward movements, because if you're able to predict it, then your theory has some explanatory power. There's something to it that you can rely on. And the more predictable our market can become in the aggregate and the macro, the more comfortable and the more confident we can be about it. And that confidence is then creates the virtuous cycle that Luber referred to in a different context. So if we're able to identify things in big variables that say, hey, look, there might be a dip right here, and then it comes true, A, we can use those same variables to predict increases. B, we can be more confident that we have a stable market that reacts to predictable stimuli. So I just don't want anybody to take offense or take umbrage at the idea that I've put forth a theory that says, hey, look, there's certain variables that are present here that tell me that the market's probably going to go down for a period of time. That's not a scary or a bad thing to me. To me, that means we're trying to understand our market, make it more predictable, and allow us to have more comfort and confidence in it. So I'm putting a pause on that. Let's see where the market's at over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I also wanted to bring up that one thing that really bothers me about certain content creators is they'll make a claim or they'll make a prediction or tell you what to buy. You should, go buy this thing, but they never actually circle back to those things and take accountability for what they've said, and they'll never respond to it. People ask them, well, you told me to buy this, and now I've lost all this money, and they never circle back to it. And they'll even buy it themselves, and they'll get clobbered on it, but you never hear about it again, and we never see it in their videos again. But if you guys bring it up on the show, we're going to address it. We'll circle back. We'll go over what we said. We'll look at the data. We'll address the current state of it, and we'll figure out how to move forward, right? We're not just going to say things and assume that, like, yeah, this will be the end. Nobody's ever going to, cross-check me on this ever again. So I'm glad you at least are addressing it, coming back to it.
Of course. Look, and also there's a little gambit involved in staking out a position where, look, if any person's able to say, hey, look, the market's going to go down, and then it goes up, and that person also has skin in the game, you win either way. If the market goes down, hey, I identified something. I made a novel discovery. And if it goes up, great. My cards are doing even better than before. So there's a little what's that? It's
win-win?
What's that?
A win-win?
A win-win. Yeah, a win-win.
Would you rather be wealthy or right?
That's a win-win. That's a great win-win. So that's a great expectation setting practice as well. Just set the bar really low. If it is low, then you're right, and if it's high, then you win.
I like that. That's a great segue into under promise, over deliver. Always looks better than over promise, under deliver every time, no matter what. Even if you deliver the exact same thing in both scenarios, if you came in low, they're going to think so much better of you.
Totally right. Pascal's wager. That's what I was trying to think of, which is the idea that you might as well believe that there's an afterlife, because if you're wrong, there's no downside. And if you're right, then you are in line with religious scripture that's going to let you get into the afterlife. And this is kind of similar to Pascal's wager, where, look, if I'm wrong, great. Cards are doing wonderfully well. And, hey, if I'm right, the downside is greatly reduced because, hey, we were able to predict it. And we were able to, then we can learn something from that. So, but yeah, nobody should be scared to be wrong either. I think a couple of comments in the chat even said it's very difficult to predict collectibles markets. Yeah, yes, it is. Nobody should be scared to be wrong. So, okay. Oh, rare edition. We got 3 questions about rare edition.
I need another beer.
All right. While Josh gets a beer, I will
because of the topic.
I will introduce this topic. Rare edition. So Ryan Bitter says, "What is rare edition?" JGB Sports Cards says, "Discuss rare edition grading company," as we're about to do. Excuse me. And Slabs for Hayes says, "Please discuss card porn's allegations and drama surrounding rare edition." So the first thing I did here was I brought up Rare Edition's website so we can understand what we're talking about. Rare Edition says, "You're about to see something rare, a new take on collectibles." And then we scroll down. Rare Edition is a modern-day collector's marketplace and grading company. They do grading, marketplace, and vault. The marketplace has a wait list. The vault is coming soon.
And for the grading, there's just strictly a learn more. And it says it's a grading system for the future. Every rare edition collectible includes an NFC chip, QR codes, holographic stamps. Here's a look at the slab. But I don't believe this is able to happen yet. There's discussion here about using AI to grade cards and population reports. I guess one other thing that I would just show on the website that matters here is, what is it, the About Us section? Or here we go. Yeah, so here's the people involved. Brandon Lipton, David Cho, Richard Shin, Robert Lee, and Alex Engel. Some of which I don't know any of these guys, but I guess some people in the hobby do know them. And then here's Cardporn's post. Cardporn says, Cardporn posts this picture and it says, does anyone else find it strange that several influencers simultaneously posted about this brand new grading company and claimed to not be paid by them, yet they promoted them? At this stage, it's probably easier to just tell us what your relationship is, that you're shilling for, rather than try to convince us that you gave free promotion to a company out of the goodness of your heart. Oh, and not sure what everyone else thinks, but we think it's poor form to Photoshop one of the holy grails of the hobby, the Jordan PMG green, into your slab. That is sacrilege. Okay, so there you go. There's introduction and setup. Do we have much to say about this?
Not really. I mean, the whole point of a grading company is that it has history and it's established trust in the community, and that we can trust sending cards to them. We can trust the pop reports. It's built up over time, and that doesn't exist. It's brand new. And all these grading companies, I have the same opinion of every single one of them. It's a really long wait and see. I'm not going to make any opinion on it until at least 5 years, unfortunately. They could be the greatest people in the world. They could have the best grading technology ever. It could be absolutely perfect. It'll spot every single little error ever. It's just absolute perfection. It won't matter unless they have enough time built up, time and equity built up in the community. Pop reports are trustworthy, and to where enough people feel confident sending their card to that. It doesn't matter. So there's not really much to talk about. I did find the influencer thing a little bit odd, especially given that some of those influencers in the past have stated be wary of grading companies and, don't just trust any new thing that comes up. And now, we're supposed to trust this new grading company. I don't see how any of those things are rare. Every company has a marketplace, grading, and vault at this point. I'm not sure. It seems like a lot of fancy buzzwords for something. I'll wait and see. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't like words. I just got to see it. I'm not going to make an opinion. If you're going to tell me a bunch of fancy words, then show me. I want to see it.
Yep. Agreed. When we launched Card Ladder, we promoted it 14 days before the launch, and then it just came out. There's not a whole lot of this, that, not saying that these guys are doing that, because I don't know when this product is coming out, but that's how we like to move. That's our style of business, is that under promise, over deliver is a phrase that Josh used earlier. Our style of business is we're just going to show you rather than tell you about it.
We didn't say we're going to revolutionize the hobby. We got this all new, amazing, integrated, fully built out system to tell you everything perfect. We just built it and release the features, tell you how it functioning works, transparent about the sales. Pretty simple.
That's how you win in this hobby, is you keep the focus on the cards. You try to make the hobby experience better for people, try to help them enjoy their cards more, help them get to cards and so forth. Sometimes it is possible to do a little too much and forget that the point of this, the way that people succeed in the hobby is by just building a great product, building it over time, as Josh said, and establishing your credibility over a period of time.
The only thing I'm going to say is when we first teased 14 days out from launch, we had a launch date and we didn't really tell you what it was, but a lot of our friends in the hobby reposted it and said they were excited to see what we were coming out with. So that's the only thing I'm going to say in regards to this, is you can't fault a friend for being excited about what you're doing, especially if, and it seems here, they know what's happening. So I'm just going to put out that it seems like it's marketing. I know people in the hobby don't always like marketing, but that's what this seems like. And I heard someone say that it was Gorilla Glass case, which I think is pretty cool. I would love to see this case in hand. But yeah, like everything Card Ladder does, wait and see.
Yeah, like, I mean, if all the influencers are actually friends with these people and they're supporting them, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Cool. So best of luck to this company. Long road ahead, but if you're like us, then you love that and you're gonna enjoy it. All right, card shame.
Cases do look kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen a slab that looks nicer than PSA and BGS slabs, but it must be hard to make a gorgeous slab. You know, I do have a slab next to me as well, and it's also gold as well. So we just have gold PSAs sitting nearby.
Just a couple of 9 bros. So I showed this to somebody today, and they were like, the first question was like, what's the 10 worth? I'm like, God damn it, fucking, you're fired.
Oh, yeah. All right. Card Sham Card says, if you could create a mashup of 2 inserts, what would they be? And you get bonus points if you do not use Kaboom.
Don't worry, I'll take those bonus points. A mashup of 2 inserts? Man. If you have one, please jump in. I still haven't even had time to think about it.
I should have thought about this question beforehand.
Can I do an optic Donruss, downtown Brady mixed with a status pursuit, so a die cut downtown optic.
Okay, so
There you
status
go.
pursuit is not an insert. It's a parallel,
Oh, right.
but we'll take it because you can just come up with something else die cut. We could put the Noise Boys die cut on the down.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that would look nice because you would have a cut in between, like in the middle of the card, not just on the sides.
I like that.
Jake says Jambalaya and Titanium. There you go.
Yeah, I have to like visualize it in my head. Jambalaya, it's a Titanium being the 97-98 Metal Universe. I don't know if it's a championship. It's a translucent card, so you give like a ovular cut to that card.
Is it me or does Panini not have a lot of inserts? Like people are like list the 5, rank all the best inserts. It's always the same ones because there's nothing else to choose from. It's like Downtown, Kaboom. What else is there? There's like 4 inserts.
It doesn't have to be like they just said Kaboom, but like it doesn't have to be modern, right?
Well, I know, but like I know that, but like I was Color Blast. There's literally like 5 total.
Yeah.
No, there's Knights of the Round.
There's some, but there's also a lot of just kind of junky inserts. They're just super common, super low end stuff.
Stained glass.
Stained glass is nice. They seem to put more inserts in the lower end products, which it just is what it is.
I guess the Prism inserts are like seen as not great, right? People are focused on the parallels.
Exactly.
Elite Dominators and Platinum Portraits.
Oh, nice. Dominators is good, right? Aren't those pretty cool?
I like
Those are
that
cool.
one.
Yeah, those are
I
cool.
mean, maybe I'm just being a pessimistic asshole again. I just can't think of that many Panini inserts. Net Marvels, there you go.
Net Marvels with what? Okay, anything shiny. I wish Net Marvels had some shine to them.
Yeah, I agree.
Put something shiny with the Net Marvels. And the Gridiron Marvels, that's what they're called in football, right? The Gridiron Marvels. Those look
No,
nice.
they're just called Marvels.
Okay.
They're not called Gridiron.
Put some respect on the name.
Okay, all right. Another insert question. South Park Cards 2 says, if you could bring back 190s insert, what would it be?
Bring back 190? None of them. I want to keep it in the 90s.
None.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, what's my favorite insert?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to bring back any either.
I was thinking Jambalaya, but I don't want to bring that back. I feel like they would, the part I liked about Jambalaya was that they were all the green and the red. I don't want them to color theme them, like the 2003 did. I don't like that. I like the sort of, you have to get creative because of the color limits of the red and the green. You have to like put more focus on the rest of the card, and you have to get more creative with it.
Yeah. Corner taken quickly says, with the exception of authentic altered, because in that case there is no choice, is there ever a time where you would prefer to have an authentic grade rather than having a numerical grade?
No, I always want the number.
Me too.
Either that or just don't grade it. Like if you're gonna make it authentic, why are you even grading it? Other than it like being I guess maybe like a PMG green that's gonna get a 1. It's just mangled, and I don't know. Or you'd prefer a PMG green to be authentic over raw, but I still would rather have the number grade. So no.
Totally.
The more interesting argument is like, when would you ever want authentic over raw? And that's just like a card that's faked a lot, you know?
Yeah.
But I want the number grade. I want the 2. I don't care. What good does it do hiding what the actual grade is? Like, how does that help anyone?
No, it doesn't. I guess there's like, there might be some gray area where like on a modern card that always grades 8 or higher, if your new number grade choice is like PSA 3 or PSA authentic, I think there's some belief that if you put in a PSA authentic slab, it's going to let the potential buyer believe that, oh, this might be a 6 or a 7 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, honestly, like when I see the authentic, I kind of think more like, what's wrong with this thing? Like, did someone like totally cut this in? There's like crease, like it's totally fucked.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm the same. I always want
the. If it's a PC card and you're like, you're trying to like lie to yourself that like it's not a 4 and it could be more. It's authentic. I don't know. Like you're just lying to yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, think about like the 52 mantle. PSA 2s and 1s trade for higher than PSA authentics, and that's where every card should land. The number grade should be superior to the authentic grade in the high.
No, PSA 2 mantles sell for a lot.
Yeah.
Like 5 figures.
Oh yeah. Let's see what the last one of those sold for.
Like 20 grand, right? Or something like that. I'm just making up numbers.
I think more than that.
Really? Yeah, dude. A PSA 2 mantle would be sweet.
Yeah, here you go.
But I can't afford a regular one.
PSA 2 mantle 52, 37K.
What about PSA 1?
PSA 1, the last sale of a PSA 1 was 30K. Just less than a week ago.
Would you rather have a PSA 1 or a PSA 2?
2, I guess. Right? I don't know.
It's like I'm all the way down here. I might as well get the fucking 1. It's like the Kiki thing, right? Where he would literally, I'm not making this up. He would carry cards around in his waistband, like his shorts, and he would like take the card out and hand it to me and be like, "What do you think? Like, what am I looking at?" He's like, "I'm trying to make this a PSA 1." Like, that's one way to do it. He put it in his pocket.
Yeah, he had the PSA 1 collection down well before. Card Ladder published some PSA 1 all-time highs, and he replied to one of the emails. Maybe it was one of my stories. He was like, PSA 1s, bro. He's like, I was on that first.
Dude, if you're going to, I use this analogy a lot, but like a comedian who can't like make fun of themselves is not a real comedian. They're not a good comedian. So like if you don't like know what you are and you're trying to lie to yourself about that you're in a higher quality card than what you really are, it's like not as good. You're not a real comedian.
No doubt. No doubt.
If you're a 1, be a fucking 1.
Oh shit, that's funny. All right. Flippity Flip Card says, why would a seller insist on taking payment through friends and family on PayPal, even when you offer to cover the goods and services fee?
Oh, that's when they are trying to evade taxes, which is illegal. That is when. this is like a no questions asked. I don't want to hear this question on either side without the very obvious answer of don't do it.
Right.
Bad. Shade Central. Never good. This is someone's insisting that you do FF that you do not know or you don't feel 100% trustworthy with, and it's an actual friend and family, which is what it says, friends and family, that's what it means, then do goods and services. This isn't I already talked about it before, we talked about it over DM, and he was more interested in sort of the meta of the conversation, and he was, feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and it's like, no, dude, hold your ground, stick with GNS, screw that.
Exactly right. And plus, man, there's a risk to any buyer and any seller anytime they slide a transaction through friends and family, even if both sides
On both sides.
Yeah.
It's a risk on both sides.
Exactly.
Also, I'd like to take this time to point out that friends and family, this might seem obvious and silly, friends and family does not mean you can not pay taxes on it. You still legally have to report any income, whether it's from a friends and family payment, goods and services, wire, anything. Just if you take money in from selling something, you have to pay taxes on it. You cannot evade it just because of some way that you take payment. That makes no sense. Like Venmo also, Venmo doesn't get you out of paying taxes. I really hope it don't.
You mean there's not a cheat code where you can defeat the
No.
IRS on a technicality?
I mean, technically, the 1099 is what sort of flags it for the IRS and makes it more obvious, but I don't condone tax fraud. That's illegal. So
There you go.
it's also very serious. Like the risk of you going to prison over sports cards and a little bit taking a little bit less money is not worth it. And I don't say trust me because I've never been to prison, but I just I would assume the prison is not good.
Right. And also, these don't let the problem of making a bunch of money and then having to pay taxes on it from cards, don't let that fester, because it's not a problem. You're in a fortunate position, and now you're in a position where you can spend a couple $100, hire a competent CPA, and have them do your taxes. And then you can feel better, not just about your sports card taxes, but now, if you're a person who's filing your own taxes yourself, you've alleviated yourself of that time suck as well. And now you have a CPA doing your taxes. They might be able to find ways you can save money in other aspects of your life. And even if they don't, just a CPA, it's not a scary thing. It's very easy. CPA is very easy to work with from my experience. They're very affordable. The price that they charge, it's going to cost you a couple $100 to get your taxes done by a CPA professionally. Just do it. Just.
You know what is scary?
Yes.
Prison.
Yeah.
Prison. I've seen Office Space. Do you like Office Space?
Yeah.
When it's like the whole tone of the movie shifts when they're like, oh my God, we're going to prison. It's like, oh my God.
Well,
federal pound me in the ass prison.
I've never seen Office Space.
We should watch Office Space tonight.
That is one of the best movies of all time. That's such a good movie.
It plays so well, even
Oh.
now. Yeah, I've seen
It
it.
does play so well.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
really
so
funny.
we've definitely scared the shit out of our chat and listeners. Across all the platforms, these get many thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of views by the time you've aggregated our podcast downloads and the Instagram views and then the YouTube views. And all those people right now they're going to pay their tax.
I feel like we could literally start every show with FedEx overnight adult signature on shipments over 5,000. Get an accountant in your local area. Please pay your taxes. Keep track of your expenses. Keep track of your sales and your buys and your inventory. Like we could just do that whole blanket statement at the beginning of every show, and people are like, "Oh yes, great," because I get asked those questions so many times, and it's always FedEx overnight adult signature.
Yes.
It's like the FBI warning, but it's like the card ladder warning. It comes up on a black screen before every episode of anything.
Right.
Yeah. So what we really need to do is we just need to make a sports cards culture episode about it, and then just link people to that when they ask about it.
There it
And then
is.
show them like pictures of people in prison to scare them.
Like a scary
Prison Mike.
documentary.
We'll get Prison Mike to join the show.
Well, speaking of
We'll get
questions
Prison
that
Mike.
we've already gotten before, I believe we've already gotten this question before. This comes from Sports Cards PA. can you please rank the different Star Rubies cards? Didn't we very recently rank the Star Rubies?
Yeah, it goes in reverse order from the 98 to 97, 96.
There you go. All right. There's an easy way to remember it too.
Also, you know how Panini has some of their inserts and parallels have like lived a lot longer, and Rubies and PMGs are like this very, very short window. Isn't that kind of like, we talk about the history of something, and it usually plays in the favor, like, you know, National Treasures, Prism, it's got this long history, Topps Chrome Refractors, it's got a long history and it helps it. Sometimes it helps it to have this little short window of like super ultra hype where it's like, dude, there's only 2 years. If you want one, you got to get one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's just so many rules in this hobby of collectability. Then there's the exception, and then it just.
It's like the English language, this hobby.
Oh, I like that.
We are the hobby is English of the languages to the collectibles.
Good. Very good. Okay.
How do we get to be the ones that call it the hobby? Like, how is the hobby the one that gets the cards? How did that happen?
Can we talk about the name the hobby?
Yeah.
Okay, so good point. How did we just commandeer that word?
I love it. It's ours.
There's lots of hobbies. We're the fucking hobby? Okay, so that's one thing. Two, my brother thought calling it the hobby was both very pretentious and very stupid at the same time. He's like, the hobby? He's like, I don't want to call it that. He's like, he refused to refer to it as the hobby for 6 months at least. But now
what do you call it?
No, now he likes it. Now he likes to call it the hobby. But
what would you call it though? It's like, I don't know what else to call it.
Sports cards?
Sports cards. You know,
It
one
has
of the
to
problems
be-
with sports cards is that people think you're saying cars,
Yeah.
like Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
And also, I collect Pokemon.
Trading cards, right? But I don't like the phrase trading cards personally.
Yeah, because I don't trade.
Exactly right.
Card, man. Okay, here, chat. Come on, chat. If you can't call it the hobby, what would you call it?
The addiction.
But why
And it
is
has
it
to, like-
the addiction?
Actually, the goal of it is that you say this to a non-hobby person, and they kind of know what you're talking about. If you say the addiction, they have no clue. It could be anything. It could be drugs. It would be drugs. If you say this to a person that you don't know, do they kind of know what you're talking about? That's the goal. It's got to be that. It has to be.
Well, I could never come to somebody who doesn't know me. It's like, oh, I'm in the hobby, and they're like, oh,
Yeah, but they're like, oh, well, like, you mean like you collect things? Like, what hobby? Like, they're getting close.
they are getting close. They might think I do arts and crafts or something.
I mean,
Like,
they look at you and they're like, this guy?
What hobby are you?
And also, thank you sports cards is like, what if I sold a bunch of Pokemon cards and I bought a car? You know, like, thank you cards, people.
Right. Right.
Does
Alternative.
Christina have one? Do you have one, Christina? Do you have a suggestion?
I don't, but I like 626 said cardboard therapy. I kind of like that. Like, I'm in cardboard therapy.
Yeah.
Cardboard therapy. I like that one.
But once again,
I like cardboard.
yeah, I like cardboard too. But
It's not always cardboard.
well, that's true. But also, why do we own cardboard?
Well, cardboard collecting.
Cardboard collecting.
People
People think I have a basement full of like these brown flat boxes piled up.
Good. They won't
That
come
thing-
over.
They'll think it's just a bunch of this.
You really got an Amazon reseller?
Yeah.
I like, because if you say, Jake said card collector, but again, people are like, are you saying car? Like you collect Lamborghinis? No. Card. So if you say cardboard-
Cars.
Yeah, they do.
The hobby. So whatever. We failed. It's the hobby.
Yeah, see, I'm jealous now of comics. Like Carvin says, comics or comic books. Everybody knows what the hell that is. You know?
Yes, it's a word for them.
Yeah, they have their own word.
Card, even cards. Like, oh, you mean like fucking like greeting cards? No, what? Oh yeah, you collect Hallmark cards?
Like, yeah, this is one my grandma sent me for my birthday. They're in a box.
So maybe we're just arriving back at where we need to own the word hobby. it's just the hobby. It's ours. We
Trademark that shit. We also need a word that's better than cards. Comics is so good. It's like it's only one thing. It's like very specific.
Yes, comics is terrific, and the word explains exactly what it is. You know, it's illustrated. You know, it's a story. You know, everybody knows what the hell a comic is.
Now I'm just really upset.
You know, everybody knows what the hell a sports card is too, though. In Luber's thing, when he was talking about the history, he was like, at one point in time, you know, some ungodly percentage of people, of like teenagers, like 89% of teenagers in the 80s self-identified as a card collector.
Right. I also, the one I do not want us here is baseball cards. Don't call it baseball cards. That one annoys me. Because I'll get that at FedEx. Like, what are you shipping? And like, it's a, you know, trading card. Like a baseball card? No, not like a fucking baseball card.
Like a basketball card.
Yeah, get the
It's a
sport
different
right.
ball, okay?
Don't just guess. It's like a 1 in 4 shot that you even get that right. When they start guessing your age?
How about pictures of grown men sweating?
Ugh. What's the next question, Chris? I'm getting flustered.
You know, that's very sad we didn't solve that. In Cardboard Veritas says, are there any strategies to resist the urge for the mail day fix purchase? How do you resist just buying stuff so that you have mail days so you can focus and save for the bigger purchases?
Oh, I would say buy really, really cheap stuff for the mail days. Like,
That's good.
you know, buy like that's like a challenge, right? Try to find something that would excite you in a mail day that's less than $10. How much was that?
What did this cost you, Christina?
That was $4 with $3.90 shipping.
Oh, so close.
There you go. There you go.
The guy that told it was like, really? Wow, someone bought it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Or, you know, look, this Michael, man, back in the day, collecting Michael Jordan 90 stuff was so simple because you could buy stuff and have mail days coming in pretty regularly. Then whenever you needed to sell it, you almost always could sell it for at least a small profit, even if you recently bought it. You were guaranteed to be able to break even. And if you had held it for a year or longer, you were probably going to make good profit on it. And it was very easy and quick to sell. Anytime you needed to fundraise, you could do it in a weekend. When I bought my 98.99 rubies, I raised $20,000 in one weekend selling Michael Jordan inserts that I had acquired over the last year. So like if you're in a category like Michael Jordan inserts, you can keep having small mail days come in, and when you need to raise $20,000, you can literally just sell those in one weekend.
Nice humble brag too.
Thank you.
Well done.
I just checked a lot of boxes with that one.
You did. You did.
All
Hold on,
right.
I think there's something on your shoulder. You might want to get that off. There you go.
All right. Thank you, in Cardboard Veritas, for this setup.
Has Cards and Candy asked the question and I missed it?
No, but I do have a cards and candy question. It's a good one for
Thank
this
God.
for this moment in the show. Cards and Candy has a way of just dropping all the pretense and just asking the damn question. Cards and
Why are
Candy
you such an idiot?
Cards and Candy goes, let's talk about Gary V tweeting about
Cards again. So this is coming from the account called Find Your Trove. They reposted this and said Gary V tweeted out. Is there a date on this? I guess this was today, perhaps. So that's when Find Your Trove posted. He said, "My sports card bug is on fire. Enjoying a lot of the homework I'm doing these last 8 weeks. The hobby is so fun, and when I get these pockets where I can do homework, it fires me up to make some observations and see if they play out. I cannot wait for the National in New Jersey in 2022."
Dude, the content of that is great. I know exactly what he's talking about. I've said that's my favorite part of the hobby, right? Is like the research and diving in and you feeling like you have this thing you want to go after for the next couple months. That's it. I love that.
Yeah, well, look, man.
Is the thought that like the hobby's gonna explode now because he tweeted something? Like the hobby doesn't react to one person.
No, especially not where it's at now. But yeah, I mean, dude, I think we've learned now that Gary's gonna vacillate. Sometimes he's going to be in NFTs. Sometimes he's going to be writing books. Sometimes he's going to be talking about cards. You know, he's going to go back and forth. And look, that might be a healthy way to do the hobby for quite a few people. You know, is go in depth at times and take a step away for a while. So
Yeah, we just like assume that because we're in it all the time that that's what everyone does or should do or whatever. And you know, that's a good topic, because like this might be a part-time hobby for some people, and because either they're really busy doing other things, or they're more successful doing it that way, and it keeps them more, you know, excited about it. It's like, even if this is a tip for all you married people out there, if you're married, or you're with someone, a great piece of advice is to like find ways for you both to do things on your own, and it kind of reinvigorates everything. So it's a valid thing.
what's this? What are you saying?
We don't do anything on our own.
You watch Hallmark movies on your own.
You watch Hallmark movies?
She's very bashful about watching Hallmark movies.
Yeah, because no, I won't say anything. They're high quality. They're so good. Yeah, it's funny because
They're totally great, and I know it. It's just they're entertaining for 2 hours.
Come on, talk about Hallmark
Like, I'm a very pessimistic realist in real life, and Hallmark is for the idealist, and it's just a nice way to turn your brain off for 2 hours.
I love how every woman, this isn't a sexist thing, every woman definitely has like their show where they just go and watch it. My wife has like her show, and she's like, this is terrible, I know, don't make fun of me, I just have to watch it.
You can make fun of me now, Christina. Say something stupid that I like.
Me?
No.
You like these movies?
Right now are leaving to go watch one of these.
You do watch the Hallmark Christmas movies? I know they're really popular.
I do. I watch Hallmark Christmas movies. I do. I especially like Business Christmas, which is where the high, powerful woman gets stuck in a small town and finds that love is so much more important than money and career success.
It's like this. There's a lot of. I feel like there's like a Reese Witherspoon movie about this. You know, like
There probably is, but she doesn't come out with movies like this like 20 times in a year. But
Right.
Hallmark does.
Well, I was gonna ask Chris. Like, men also have. We've got stuff we're embarrassed that we watch. Frasier.
Yeah, let's go. I'm actually not embarrassed of Frasier, but I wear the Frasier badge with pride.
Jake is saying, "Mom and Dad, please don't fight."
There's nothing to fight about here.
I still watch Bachelor. I watch it with my wife, and I don't hate it.
There you go. Oh okay. So along that vein, I like movies that have very low Rotten Tomato percentages.
Ooh, like The Room. Have you seen The Room?
Love The Room. Absolutely love The Room. A psychological thriller with 20% or less on Rotten Tomatoes. Guaranteed, I'm gonna love it. Guaranteed.
I used to really love watching horror movies that were just really, really bad, because it's like a cheesy horror movie, basically. You know,
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
Oh wow.
Do you have any examples?
The Circle.
The
There's
show?
Pandorum. No, there's a movie called The Circle,
The Text?
sci-fi. What's that movie where they're in the
The Exam.
room? The Exam. Pandorum, I said. Oh, it's been a while since I
What is
went
it?
doing my sci-fi searching on Netflix.
What is it about it that you can sort of like turn your brain down a little bit, or what is it about that you like?
You turn your brain up.
No,
They're
they're very engaging to me.
philosophical, movies.
They suck me in. You know, they suck me in. I think like those movies are like the equivalent of dad jokes, where like most people just groan at them, just groan. Oh, how clever your stupid dad joke. You know, that movie is the dad joke. Those are the dad jokes of movies. But I really fucking enjoy them.
Jake said we liked that one.
The Cube is great. If it's a low-rated sci-fi or psychological thriller, I've seen it and I loved it.
Especially if it's named after a shape.
Yes.
Go see. There's a horror movie called Slither it's like the worst amazing movie ever for the horror genre. It just like it makes absolutely no sense. The character like isn't scary at all. It's ridiculous, but it's a great movie.
An unscary horror. All right, I wrote that one down. Is Space Jam
Slither.
2 low grade sci-fi?
That movie was fucking terrible.
I don't know. It was,
Like just stop, LeBron.
the
Just
basketball scene I really thought was good.
Yeah, where it was stupid though, because why didn't they just do the duplication machine earlier?
You're not supposed to. Do you find plot holes in Disney movies as well?
I do.
Yeah.
And Hallmark movies too.
I do that. I'm the person that does that. We're watching this show on Netflix, and I'm like, did we just completely forget the last scene where the guy said the opposite? Now he's every scene, and just my wife looks at me and she's like, just watch the show. I'm like, well, no, they fucking blew. They plot hold that shit.
I'm okay. So I have a hard time relating that because I'm a very dumb TV and movie watcher. Like I do turn off my brain. Very dumb. Like just. Christina, like we would watch this show called The Mentalist. Christina would be predicting the plot. She's like, "This is so predictable. I know this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen." And I'm like, I forgot what she said 2 seconds later. I'm engrossed. I'm enjoying the characters. I'm just a very dumb consumer of.
We watched The Mentalist like 4 different times. The first time we watched it, he had already seen it twice, and like I'm predicting what's happening, and I'm like, "Is that what happens?" And he's like, "I don't remember."
I don't. I'm very bad at watching things.
That's funny. That's good. Like it's good for my ego knowing that like there's something that you are dumb at because it's not true. Yeah.
I'm definitely dumb at many things, but
I'm dumb at things around the house. Like if my wife's like, "Can you change that? Like, can you fix the sink?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. There's no chance.
Good,
I can barely turn it on."
That's good because here's Christina's chance to get revenge on me. I'm the same. Christina will do the handiwork over me. Isn't that's fair, right?
Yeah, you're also directionally challenged.
Oh, and I'm directionally stupid. So like I can't navigate. You know, even with a map. Like we did like a corn maze not long ago, and I was completely lost within 5 steps.
You just sat down.
Yeah, it was bad. I would get lost, you know. Dude, pre-TomTom, you know, pre-GPS machines.
Garmin is the answer. TomTom, what the fuck?
Do you remember TomToms? You remember?
I worked at Garmin. Yes, I know TomTom.
Okay. All right. Pre-TomToms, it was tough going for me. My family was probably very worried about me. Pre-TomToms. MapQuest. I printed out MapQuest directions, but I would still botch it. I would still mess up.
Oh my God, you're
really worried.
when you would print out MapQuest.
Yeah, those were horror. I have nightmares of those.
I used to have like a stack in my car that were like labeled, so if I had to go somewhere, I could like shuffle through and be like, "Oh, this is how I get there."
I have this really funny story about my wife when she was in college. She's not going to watch this, so I can do it. She was like, they had a GPS, and her friend, also directionally challenged. I'm the one that does all the driving. They loaded it into the system, or they like got it ready, or they printed out the MapQuest, whatever it was a long time ago, and they're going to try this new restaurant or whatever, and they start driving, and they're really hungry, and they're like trying to find it, and I'm like, they like called me at one point, and this is they live in California, and I'm in Arizona. I'm like, I have no fucking clue where you guys are. I'm not in the area, and they're like, we're trying to find this restaurant, we can't find it, and then like an hour later, she texts me. She's like, "I just went back home. We literally just like went home. We didn't even find it. We're like, we didn't get home. They just gave up. They just gave up."
Oof. Wow. Okay. Yeah,
Why didn't they just stop and ask for directions?
No, they were like, it was like too far. Like they were too embarrassed to keep going. They're like, let's just go back.
At least they found their way back.
That's what I was like. That's a miracle. You guys made it back. Retrace your steps.
I was lost on the road once, and I still don't know to this day how I made my way back. I definitely stopped and asked people. You know, I would get out at a gas station and be like, I was trying to go to my home. I was in the same city as when I lived in Atlanta. I just went to one part of the city. I couldn't figure out my way back.
People were like, "Chris, I'm your neighbor. And you're right there."
Yeah. that definitely scared me into not wanting to go outside for a while.
You drive slow? Yeah, I'm picturing you like driving very methodically.
Very slowly, like an old man. All right.
Yeah, you turn like that. You're like one of those guys that turns like this. Like 10 to 2, 10 to 2, 10 to 2.
Well, there was I'm trying to see here. Oh, a lot of questions we didn't get to, but they're all very serious.
You're not feeling serious anymore?
No. We
I want
burned.
you to ask how to change the oil in your car. There's no chance. If also, whenever I sign up for my insurance on my car, I always pay extra for the roadside assistance because if my tire goes out, there's like less than 0% chance I'm changing that tire.
Oh yeah, that's a guarantee. That's not even a question. You get the roadside assistance.
And someone's like, people are like, oh, I'm gonna take your man card. Fine. Is he gonna fix my tire? You can have it.
We think about this. Card Ladder should form a 3-on-3 basketball tournament and have sports card companies play each other.
Please
That'd be
do
fun.
that. Oh my God.
What would some of the other, I don't even,
Who would win? Us? You mean who would get second?
yeah, who would get second? Who was our third player? I guess
It
Nick.
would have to be Nick because I
Yeah.
just foul people.
Yeah, it would be Nick.
Yeah, I'm not good, so I just foul people.
Nick played high school basketball.
I just think of like Stanley, of course. Why, of course.
Dude, one of the Mavs commentator podcasts that I listen to, he gets so pissed at the Mavs, and when he's really pissed, he's like, that guy just looks like Stanley dribbling the ball on the floor. That's his go-to. It's just that guy can't dribble. He looks like Stanley.
He does like
Yeah, with the arm up. Yeah, exactly.
I can't even think of another team that could even come close to us. That's a challenge. Let's go.
Yeah, and let's put something on the line. How about that?
I
For
mean,
charity.
You can shoot. You can shoot, right?
Yeah, I can shoot. Okay, I can shoot.
he used to make me in college. He used to make me film him taking 5 around the world threes at the basketball court.
5?
Oh,
No.
loser.
I would have a drill.
Yeah, you would do 5 around. You would do 5 shots from it was like the 3-point tournament or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used to make me film it, and then he would watch it 3 times, and then go back out there and do it again.
Can we just please make sure the bracket aligns us with Sports Card Investor and just let me just get that.
To the face.
See, that's why I think it should be a loser leaves town match.
That's when Christina comes in.
Oh, winner take all. Winner take all.
Yes.
You get all your customers. Hand them over.
Oh Lord. Yeah, I don't really know who would be putting up much of a team.
I can't think of another. There's got to be some business that's comprised of ex-college players that would just mop the floor with us.
That's why we would hire Justin for a little while.
as a advisor.
Yeah, exactly. New creative
Be a
advisor.
creative advisor.
Yep, we'd have a new creative advisor. That's a good call.
But Justin was just all right, you fucking stand right here and just block everybody, right? You be the center.
Hired,
Guard them.
Ben for a little while.
Oh shit, yeah, he's 6'10" as well.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
almost
but Justin also played basketball. He's not just tall. He
Yeah,
also played.
He was on North Carolina's team.
I think Ben played too, but I don't think I don't really know.
Once upon a time,
Yeah.
there was a statistic that said if you were 7 feet tall, there's a 22% chance you were in the NBA.
Holy shit. That's how Porzingis made the NBA.
The hobby isn't exactly rolling in athleticism. No, probably not. Although there are quite a few guys who played sports. There's that segment. There's a contingent of the hobby who were high school athletes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm, that great either, but
Right.
I played for several years.
I think Panini's good at football. They're all football guys over there. So if it was a football game, they would win.
We just don't have a lot of choices. We're all playing, basically.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, 3-on-3, so that helps us a little bit. Yes.
So,
Drawing from a small.
me, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. So
We should make this happen.
I think we should make it happen too, but I need to train for like 3 months.
All right,
And I
get
need
started.
Christina to start filming.
Mint.
Get the camera.
Get the camera out and inspect my form.
It's like, it's all about that. It's all about that elbow, right? It's all about the elbow. You gotta.
Are you lefty?
No.
Oh, then my screen must have been. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, okay, because the screen reverses. All right.
My comp is Reggie Miller, if you must know.
That's a good comp.
Got this the pointy elbows and the fiery 3-point shooting ability.
So your modern day comp might be Tyler Hero?
That is not bad.
No, that's not bad.
Better
Tyler
than Trae Young.
Wait, is this right?
Yeah, there you go.
Is that right?
Tyler was averaging like 23 points a game right now somehow.
I would take. I mean, these guys in the NBA. I'll take that comp.
Dude, he's the best offensive player on the Miami Heat, whatever that says.
I had a friend. I comped him to Lindsey Hunter. He got so mad. I'm like, he's in the NBA. What's so bad about that? It's a good comp.
I had a friend who comped himself to like Kemba Walker as his comp. Like guys have ridiculous comps. You know, one guy would be like, yeah, I'm like Paul George. I'm like,
I'm basically like a mix between Reggie Miller and like Ben Wallace on defense. It's like pure shooter plus just ruthless. It's like, what? How's that possible?
I don't. And look, it's one thing if like Reggie Miller or Charles, there's players who have identifiable styles of play. Oh, you shoot a lot of threes, you're Reggie Miller. Got it. Tall, lanky, Reggie Miller makes sense. But, guys comping themselves to like a player that they don't resemble at all. Just, I'm Kemba Walker. What? How? How are you Kemba Walker, man?
You should never comp yourself to like a Kyrie or a Steph Curry. It's like, all right, do you really have handles and can like shoot from half court and stuff? No, like, or you comp yourself to like Jordan or LeBron. It's like, come on, like you're just
But like a guy in the playground and be like, yeah, I'm like Zion. Like, oh, really?
Right.
You're 300 pounds and dunking on people, and really?
Oh, you're not gonna play today? Is that it?
You're always injured. Yeah.
What's your comp?
Boris Diaw.
Okay. Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's not bad.
Dude, that's just a sweet comp. People
You
laugh.
were ready to
when
go with
they hear it.
that.
No, people laugh when they hear it, but you know what? Boris Diaw was a player on a championship team who made a meaningful contribution.
Dude, he was good on the Suns. He was really good.
Yeah, I'm not Suns Boris Diaw. I'm Spurs Boris Diaw. I'm late career.
He was still guarding LeBron in those finals.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
And he can shoot a little bit. He can pass a little bit. Well, he's a pretty well-rounded player. He was a good fantasy player, ironically.
South says his comp is Russell Westbrook in the fourth quarter.
Brick City, good lord, dude. They Thunder are 2-6, and both of their wins are, 20-point comebacks against the Lakers. One of them was an OKC, but God, fuck.
Ricky in the chat says he's James Posey. Nice.
See, that's a really good comp. It's like a humble, reasonable comp to someone who's in the NBA because I need to recognize who they are, but you're not saying that you're LeBron,
Right. I actually need to look up James Posey.
Reggie Miller's probably too lofty. I need to think of like another comp to Reggie Miller who's not as good.
Well, who can you say, 3-point shooter, I don't know. I'd have to see you play to give you a comp. Then I'd be able to give you a comp. Maybe you could take a video. Your wife could take a video tomorrow, and then you could send it to me.
Rucker Park.
Rucker. Oh, wow. That's fun.
Does Laker have a court, like a secret basketball court?
I don't know. If they do, it would have to be underground.
You know what? Like, if we played in New York, I would just like pass you the ball and say check, and we just go. It's like the universe. That's the universal symbol for game on.
We could take them to the basketball courts that we used to frequent
in New Haven.
It's
gonna be very cold outside.
Yeah.
Oh, the issues have started. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Like an excuse.
Maybe we'll have to.
He's like, I did twist my ankle last night. I'm just letting you know, my cardio is bad. I ate something weird last night. Like, this is not going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. Christine's gonna have to take somebody to the hospital after I play for 10 minutes.
She should tape this game just to see who like wears out first, because my cardio is terrible as well.
Yeah, that's why I see. If we do this 3-on-3 thing, I need 3 months to train. I seriously.
Aren't you a runner? Don't you run?
I take jogs. I take brief 2-mile jogs. That's the extent of what I did.
Oh, NY Giants card guy says Robert Trailer. There you go, another humble comp. Love it.
Yeah, and I know what that.
Boris Dio is just like the ultimate humble guy comp.
Yeah, it's sneaky though, because like Boris Dio had some skills. You know, he had some post moves. He had a little bit of a shot. He could pass a little bit. You know,
Like you'd sneak up on a person, you'd be like, they'd be and unassuming, and then all of a sudden you're just like whipping passes around and draining threes. Is that?
No, I don't know if that happened. One time when I was on a playground, back when I was in college, sporting a bald spot, I was comped to Manu Ginobili, but not because of how I was playing. Oh, and they comped me to Chris Kaman. I got the Chris Kaman comp as well. Do you know who that is?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Yeah, the kid. That was an interesting looking guy.
Yeah, no, they said one guy said I looked like Ginobili with the bald spot. The other guy said I looked like Chris Kaman. So
your hair, he had like that insane hair where it was just like matted and remember that?
Yes. I went and I looked it up and I was like, well, all right, I'm not going on your team when we run 5s here, and I'll wait till the next 5 come up, because that's
I think
you're not passing me the ball.
right. Well, if you do, you're not getting it back.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely one of my. If you pass me the ball, I'm most likely going to shoot it. I'm here to shoot the ball. I'm not going to sit here and freaking. This isn't like the NBA. I'm trying to score. Kinda.
Yeah, there is something to it.
You kind of look like him, but he's just you're more like polished than he is.
That's not saying much, but I will concede that. Yeah, he was just a bit of a wild man.
Yeah, it's like he needs to make up his mind here.
Oh, he was on the Mavs. Look at that.
Oh, you should get his logo, man.
New collector.
You still get a logo man of anyone that's ever played for the Mavs.
He opened all of our sample boxes at the photo shoot. Was he allowed to do that?
They're like, please stop doing that.
And shave your beard too. All right. Well, I don't want to read any more questions.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, we had quite a few questions left, but they're all serious. And when the show goes an hour or 2 mode,
Do one more. One that's like it's really bad if we don't do this one.
Well, there was one in the chat that you kept asking.
what was that?
It was, what happens to the market when the Mantle 10 is a $30 million card?
Then I don't know. We're all rich.
Yeah, we all retired.
We all
The
retired.
Bobo cards are going up, I tell you that much.
Yeah, but see, a couple people in the chat they weren't grasping the fact that the questions were submitted in advance.
Yeah,
So somebody was like, "Who's fielding the questions?" I was like,
that was the same guy.
"Oh, okay, all
He
right."
asked that question like 5 times, and then like,
Poor guy.
yeah,
Um,
it might have been his first time.
First time we're here.
well, NorCal Cards wanted to know, when will PWCC put the premier auction sales into their sales history research tab? And I don't know when they're going to do that, but Card Ladder's pulling those sales, so Card Ladder has them.
What about Josh's Pokemon question?
Okay, Schmo50 says, question for Josh on his Pokemon collection. What are his favorite Pokemon cards in his collection, and does he have any first edition Neo Hollows in PSA 10, or does he stick to base Jungle, Fossil, and Rocket?
I've gotten I'll say my favorite cards I don't have in hand yet are on the way.
Yeah,
That's the T.
those are taking a lot.
But I don't want to talk about it. Vaults aren't that great.
Yeah.
Ship the card game already. I don't have any Neo, but I really like the Neo series. I also like the E series. I think those are both really cool. I've been looking a lot more at Pokemon recently, and there's a lot of cool stuff. Anything newer than like 2005 for Pokemon is like the hard pass for me. It's just, there's too much of it. Like I was saying on SEC, there's just like a lot of it, and it's very, very easy to get. And so like there's no chase for me. So I'm looking at the older stuff, and Neo is like 2001, 2002. So that's kind of right in the sweet spot. Have you looked at MetaZoo? Chris, how many MetaZoos do you have?
MetaZoo is the thing with Steve Aoki.
It's like the new Magic, the new Pokemon, sort of meant to be like kind of a hype beast, investment thing as well.
Yeah.
It's like NFTs, but for Pokemon.
They're digital?
No, they're not. I'm just saying like people that collect MetaZoo are people that also collect NFTs.
Okay. Well, that's good. They're moving to the physical.
Is it an actual game?
Yes, it is. It's a legit like TCG, the card game.
Is it like that, what's that game that guy made up on Parks and Rec?
No, Cones of Dunshire. No, it's a card game. It's totally like a hype beast thing where like the people that are buying it are like, oh, it's the next Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's better. People that are trying to like get you to invest.
Undervalue.
Cones of Dunshire is, how dare you compare MetaZoo to Cones of Dunshire? Nobody can touch Cones of Dunshire.
Oh man.
How about the fact that those accountants created that game and made him the owner? Like,
Yeah, that was great.
how ethically responsible.
That show tied up all the loose ends so well.
Yeah, that was a big old happy ending.
It was just like, man, they just nailed it on everything. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know much about MetaZoo. My sense was that it was like a hype beast kind of thing.
Yeah, I have no clue. This is a little bit adjacent to what I would follow.
Like people were telling me, like, go buy it and you'll make a ton of money. It was like, wait, is it to play the game or should I go buy it for money or to play the game?
Yeah. I mean, ironically, that's not a very persuasive sales pitch.
I don't know much about other than that, like that, I don't know anything about it. That's how it's pitched. That's how it's pitched to most people. It's like the Fortnite cards, like go buy the Fortnite cards and you'll get rich.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, let's go ahead and call this thing. I suppose that's next week is the 13th and then the 20th and then New York. So we got 2 crossovers left before New York.
You're looking
We're gonna
at
do-
next week is not Friday the 13th.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. We got the 12th and 19th. Oh, and then the 26th after Thanksgiving.
I won't be able to do the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Okay. All right, good. Good to know. Okay. So yes, we have 2, could have 3, but we have 2 crossovers before New York. So, and excluding the one on 25th. Okay. Then we'll see you guys in less than 7 days.
Card Ladder, the best sports card app on the market. The future of sports cards is here. Card Ladder is the 21st century price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Card Ladder.